Hello, everyone. Antonio T. Ventura and Chuleta Devine here. Welcome to the Imperial Court of New York's National Coming Out Day panel discussion. Happy National Coming Out Day. Chuleta?
Happy National Come Out Day. It's the 32nd year since 1988 when you first started.
1988, that sounds familiar to me for some reason.
Was it the year you were born?
That was the year I was born.
Yes. It's been a popular year.
It was a good year. All right, so let's get things kicked off. We are going to have a panel of amazing individuals to speak on their experiences and the importance of anti-bullying campaigns and acceptance. And just so everyone knows, so we don't forget to say it, down below you'll see a scrolling ticker with ICNY.info/coming out, which is to donate at, and net proceeds of tonight's panel will benefit the Tyler Clementi Foundation. So let's bring on our panel. First we have reign 34, our reigning monarchs, Emperor Graham de Cracker and Empress Madelyn Keyth. Hello.
Good evening.
We have Empress 29 and 31, Madison Mansfield. Hello.
Good evening. Hello.
We have Viscountess Chantilly. Hello.
Good evening.
Hi.
And our very, very special guest panelist, Jane Clementi from the Tyler Clementi Foundation.
Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to be here.
Hi, Jane.
Hi.
So we hope everyone is doing well out there on Facebook and all the lives. So let's get this panel started. I think I'm actually going to pass it to my Empress Chuleta Devine, to give us a quick little insight of her coming out story.
Okay, well, my coming out story isn't that exciting because my family, I never really came out to my family because I didn't have to, but because we've had gay relatives. My mother has a gay sister, my father had a gay brother. So it was like known, it's either, it wasn't a big deal in my family to be gay. But at work was another story. And I've been working in my company at the time for like 20 years. It was the year 2000, Y2K, and our new CEO had an idea that she wanted to start a business professional networking, and she invited a group of us to like a roundtable discussion. And I thought it was kind of strange because it was all the upper executives that were at the table, and I'm not at that level. And I'm sitting there, and she was going around, and she just asked basic questions. Give us a little something about yourself, your schooling, you're married, or whatever it is, and So when they said married, I wasn't out at work, and I have my family that worked there, which didn't make a difference, but I just didn't want them to know that I was gay. So they're going around the question, and then they're questioning the table, and it came up to me, and I was like, okay. So I answered the question when they said it, so what's your marital status? They said, well, I'm single but unavailable. And the CEO looked at me and he says, what does that mean? I said, well, I'm in a long-term relationship. And he says, well, why don't you get married? And I said, because it's not legal. And at that point, I didn't even realize I outed myself by saying it's not legal. And then from that point on, it was like, okay, James, you're going to be in charge of the LGBT people. I said, oh, thank you so much. So from that point, from 2000, I've been on this Executive Diversity Council for the Depository Trust Clearing Corp, and that's how I came out. And it was, it was well received. My company, working in a finance company back in the 80s was quite different because there was no really gay employees that were out. And, everything was family orientated, or who you going out with, this and that. So I kept to myself a lot, but it changed drastically because once I came out and we started doing work, we got We got health benefits for significant others. We got gay equality. The company changed, like metaphors over the last 10 years. It's been really spectacular, and I'm glad that I came out, and I'm glad that I was able to bring my authentic self to work and not a lie. And I was more productive, and people respected me more because they didn't have to question, oh, is he this? Is he that? You know, it was known already. So I didn't have to worry about people talking behind my back because they would say right to my face, "Oh, James, you're gay." I said, "Yeah, I am gay." So it was quite interesting, and it's been a positive experience, and I think it's great to go to work and bring your whole self. As a matter of fact, in the last 2 years, I've been doing events at my job in drag, and the company loves it. They think it's great. I've had the Imperial Court in New York at my job. Keyth and Graham has been there, and they just love it. A bunch of suits over the years have changed to casual attire, and the attitude is casual and very accepting, and it's just been a wonderful thing for me to come out at work. And that's my story.
That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that our coming out timelines were the same.
2000?
I came out to myself, so I guess I'll just take the next ring and then we'll move into something a little different. But I just did the post today on my social media about it, and this year marks 20 years of me being out to myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it was middle school, 7th grade, or earlier than some people who. Side note, that's what I love about the Imperial Court of New York, the fact that we have so many different experiences, and whether it's coming out, family, the different generations that we have here, so many different stories, and we can always learn from each other, and that's part of what this panel is for. And yeah, I'm from Southern California, so little, other coast, and I grew up in a little bubble of, love and acceptance. My first visuals of the gay community on television, one was Dawson's Creek, that had the brother was gay and he was dating the cop, and they had the first, I think, primetime gay kiss between two males on that show when I was young. And then Will and Grace came out when I was 10, first season. So sorry. And so that helped me kind of oh, that's what I'm feeling. That's what this is. But I came out to myself around age 12, 13. Came out to my friends when I was 14. I indirectly came out to my mom when I was 14 because she witnessed me kissing a friend of mine. I did not know that she witnessed this until a year later, when in true high school angsty self, I was in a mood and upset, and she asked if it had to do with that friend. And I officially came out to her 2 years later in the car, and her response was, "I've known since you were 5." So when people say that it's a choice, not born that way, I'm like, no, you're born. It's who we are.
Yeah.
This way. And I have an older brother, and my story is an example, as if anyone can tell, of coming out being a lifelong process. It's not a one and done situation. It's a continually progressing and evolving situation. But then my freshman year of college, my brother had planned to come up to tell me that he knew I was gay and he was okay with it. He scheduled an exact visit for this, and a mutual friend of ours ruined the surprise. Mentioned it to me thinking that we knew. And so when he got there, I said, "The thing you came to tell me is true. Let's go have fun." Saving a conversation. And then I took him to the Castro because I was going to school in San Francisco, and we went to a burger place that's not there anymore. I'm very sad. Oh, Sandy will be back. And I have to laugh because he thought that the two men in the restaurant were staring at me when they were not. They were staring at my brother, and they were very, big daddy bears. My brother is, if anyone's met him, I think everyone on
Big daddy bear.
is a big teddy bear himself. We were very different in our physical statures. And it was just really funny because I got to tease him about that the rest of the visit. And then the final family coming out was my dad when I graduated college. And that was, he came for my graduation and I had a boyfriend at the time. And I was like, hi, this is so-and-so. He just shook his hand and that was all there was to that. And then it's just been now almost 11 years almost of being out to the family as a whole. Social media, I'm out, you know, so any family that adds me that may not have known, they know. And if they can't tell from what I post about the Imperial Court, then I don't know how they're ever going to tell. But yeah, again, it's a lifelong process, but whether you are just 1 year out, 2 days out, you came out today, just know that it's your timing and it should always be your timing. But that's my little story, because now everyone, if they don't know, I can't help it. And a little back to those that are in the court. Grandpa, when she first met me, apparently didn't know. That changed in 2 seconds once I met her wife, Jen, who's also in the court. They're the reasons I'm here in the court. She's like, no, honey, he's gay. But so that's two of our stories. I actually want to shift gears a little bit to the part of the reason we're here tonight, which is the Tyler Clementi Foundation, which is our beneficiary tonight. Again, you can go to icny.info/coming-out to donate, and the net proceeds from tonight will go there. And I'd like to introduce Jane Clementi.
Hi.
Hi, Jane.
Hi. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate being here. I am Jane Clementi, as you said, and I am co-founder of the Tyler Clementi Foundation. And for those of you who don't know, Tyler, my son, I would say was outed on social media and then throughout all of the media network when sadly he made headlines for all the wrong reasons. And in case you don't know, I'll give a little brief synopsis of his story of what happened. It was actually 10 years ago, the fall of 2010, when Tyler started his freshman year at Rutgers University, and his roommate chose, I believe, without a doubt in my mind, because of his sexual orientation, to target Tyler. And he live streamed Tyler in a sexual encounter with another man. And then he posted on social media, inviting many to come in and join in and watch the show. And it was at this point, as Tyler continued to read those jokes and comments on social media, that his reality became very twisted and distorted. And he made, unfortunately, a really bad decision. Permanent decision to a temporary situation, because on September 22nd, 2010, Tyler died by suicide, and he was only 18 years old. And it is that reason that Joe and I started the foundation as a means to make sure that no one else would have to suffer that pain, shame, or humiliation that Tyler did. And we are working to put an end to all online and offline bullying for youth and adults alike, whether it's in their schools or whether it's through legislative inequalities, or if it's because of misguided teachings and traditions of dogma that discriminate and cause so much pain and despair in many, many people. And that is, I believe, part of Tyler's story. And so, like I said, as a family, families need to come out as well. So you come out and it just starts a whole ripple effect, because then your parents need to come out, and then your siblings need to come out. And in this world, and many of the worlds we live in New York City and on the coast, bi-coastal, it's an easier, much easier situation than 10 years ago or 20 years ago or certainly 30 years ago. But it is still, I just want to stress, it's still an extremely difficult thing to have to do when you're surrounded by conservative, unwelcoming, faith-based bias and dogma. And that's why one of our initiatives of our foundation is to address, our true faith does not bully. And I believe that strongly and fully as a devoted person of great faith. But we are writing actually letters, just to give a little brief synopsis of what the foundation is doing. We have many, many initiatives. We have awareness raising, because we do believe stories are important. But one of the things is our True Faith Doesn't Bully, as I said, and we're writing letters to the Southern Baptist Conference, making sure they are aware of what pain and harm is caused by their teachings. And we want to make sure that they have a way and an avenue and conversation that we can help pull them along into what I believe is the way of a current and future, because I mean, I think it's still a necessary conversation today, but I don't think it should be a needed conversation today, if that makes any sense at all. I think we should be beyond this step. Unfortunately, we're not. I think Tyler's story did start lots and lots of conversations in 2010. And many initiatives like the It Gets Better Project, and many public celebrities chose to come out at that point publicly. They may have been out in their private life, but they chose to come out publicly because they know the importance of instilling hope in young people. You know, you need a role model, and many young people didn't even think they had role models, but they did. They just needed to come out, and that's what's so important. It's helpful for your own self to come out, but it's also helpful for those around you to come out. And it's also really important so that you don't feel so alone, because I think the biggest place you feel alone is usually behind the ears in your own head. And I think you need to relieve yourself of that pressure and pain. It was really easy for us in a way. I mean, I was numb at the time, and I know the rest of my family thought it was very intrusive having the media circled and encamped around us. But when you look back on it, I think it was such a blessing, because we didn't need to come out really to too many people, because all they had to do was open up the newspaper and read about us. Of course, they captured Tyler's name in the headlines without really knowing who he was. And unfortunately, I have learned just recently, actually, as I've just moved and relocated and came across some pages of Tyler's, and I'm really more aware of the pain of what the closet does to you, because the outgoing and inquisitive and creative young man that I saw, the young man that I thought was, creative, adventurous, and really a very gifted musician and violinist, was not the Tyler who I read on those pages. The pages that he wrote on were someone I didn't even recognize, someone full of sadness, despair, pain, anger, even, just a different Tyler. And that, I think, is the pain of the closet. And that's why we need to have these conversations and open up and listen to stories and have people in the media or on series and shows. As you said, you talked about the shows that you watched growing up. We need to see role models. We need to see people in real life, and to know that we're not so alone, and to almost normalize difference, because how boring this world would be if we were all the same. If we all looked the same, if we all acted the same, if we all thought the same. That would be horrible, I think, in my mind. But so I'm really excited to hear more about your stories. And I love the fact that you say that the financial community is so open and moving forward quickly, because when our situation happened, it was many of the banks and financial organizations that had us come and speak through employee resource groups. And
it came to my job.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure which one you were at, because I think we spoke at every major bank in New York. And I also think, just a shout out to music. And, we have a beautiful piece of music called Tyler's Suite also. And I know the New York City Gay Men's Chorus sang it, and many of your members are also part of that as well. And that is just such a beautiful way to change hearts and minds. What speaks more to your inside than, and to your soul than music. That to me, that's really something that will shake and break down barriers, I think.
Whew, thank you, Jane.
That's absolutely the truth, though.
And so what you said hits the nail right on the head. It's a lot. And first of all, thank you for everything that you've done over the past decade, and your family taking such personal tragedy and turning it into something that is nationally, internationally known and for the good, for the better. Because like that was the year I graduated college, and I remember hearing the story, and it like hit me hard because the first year I was going into the real world, not the bubble of everything else. And as a musician as well, I know music is very healing, and so again, thank you for telling the story for many that may not know the story, because we have people watching from around North America, and our news gets places, but sometimes it doesn't, especially when we start doing local fundraisers and things like that versus keeping in the mainstream media constantly. But yeah, so everyone to continue funding this amazing mission and work to stop bullying and stop any form of hate. Again, ICNY.info/coming-out. And I want to tie in our next speaker into a similar realm of association with the LGBT community, and that's Viscountess Chantilly Lace, who is one of our amazing members, amazing allies, and amazing parent to a wonderful LGBTQ+ child. So Chantilly Lace.
Thank you, Michael. I joined this as an ally, but also because of my daughter, and she's amazing, but it's important for parents to be supportive and to love their kids unconditionally, no matter what. And growing up, we had a different atmosphere. I'm kind of glad that our high school was a lot more open to these types of situations, because we have out teachers that are, married to their significant others, and it's a better, friendlier atmosphere for her to be in. And when she had a girlfriend in high school, and they went to prom together, and so they were actually, I guess, almost like a celebrity couple for a while. Everybody loved the pair, and it's great. I mean, I didn't have that when we were in high school. It was so taboo. Nobody even mentioned it. And the kids that unfortunately were targeted, it was upsetting. There was a suicide from one of the brothers of my sister's friend because of it. And it's disturbing. I mean, there's no greater heartache for a parent than to lose a child, but to lose a child in such a way, I mean, when Jane was speaking, I was like to tears. We want better for our kids. We want to be able to stop the hate, to open up so that everybody can have the same equal opportunities, so that nobody has to sit there and wonder, are they going to be jeopardize their job or their place where they live? Are they going to be able to be with their the person that they love if they're in the hospital? I mean, all of these essential things that everybody takes for granted. We want everybody to have the same. And I mean, in a small way, we do the best we can to try to effect that change and bring about a better, hopefully a better world for our kids and just for everybody in general. I consider the people of the Imperial Court to be like family now. I mean, they're great people. And I don't know, a million other things that people can do with their free time, but yet they give their time for such a great cause. And to support things like Jane's foundation there, I mean, what better can we do for our kids and for the world in general than to try to effect a positive change, to bring forth something that's happier, friendlier, more accepting, more loving, more understanding, and this is just a part of it.
Thank you, Chantilly.
That's fabulous.
Amazing.
You guys are killing my makeup. I'm not as cold-hearted as everybody likes to think.
And it's my own firm belief is it all starts off with the family, with your mother, your father, whoever's right. If you could be open with them, and if they're accepting, it would make your life so much easier to come out to other people. Because I guess being the way I was raised, there was no barriers being gay. So it was like a normal thing in my household. But going to work, it wasn't. So I just felt if I could be open with my parents and they're accepting me, the whole world should accept me. And that's the way I felt. So maybe that's where people need to put the emphasis is when you're having children or deciding to have a family, you know, just being an accepting parent and instill these, you know, golden rules, you know, just treating everyone with dignity and respect. And, you know, it makes a difference.
It really does. And again, two amazing examples right here in Jane and Chantilly of what parents should strive to be. Not just of your LGBTQ plus children, but just your children in general. Especially to your children if they have something that's not normal, putting that in quotes because what's normal. But yeah, and like you said, having a family to talk to, that was, for me, I was happy to be able to have come out to my mother prior to Prop 8 in California, which was 2008, marriage equality, and I was in college, and why would that need to be a discussion? And I couldn't understand it. And when I went home to my hometown for a winter vacation, I'd always felt safe. And then because my family and friends and circle, and what I saw was you wanted to see blue signs. That was the good when it came to Prop 8. And my hometown was painted with the yellow signs, which were the against marriage equality. So again, having family that's supportive helped through that like discovery of my 19 years in this world, having seen one part of this and now seeing another. But continuing with our supportive family stories and whatnot, I want to, sorry, reigning monarchs, you're the closers of the show, FYI. Keep this stories. But I want to go over to Empress 29 and 31, Madison Mansfield, who is a member of the Imperial Court of New York and who also has her own mother as a member of the Imperial Court of New York.
Yes. Hello, hello. I just want to say both of you, both Jane and Sandy, yes, both your stories are like getting to me. But especially Jane, I just want to say thank you so much for being here tonight. Like, your story really does touch me. I remember sitting and watching the news about your son, and the fact that I can call you a friend and an ally today just blows my mind, because I could have been your son. Sorry, I need a minute. I was one of those people that was like self-imposed. Everybody, like, when I came out, everybody knew that I was gay. I was one of those people that I wasn't comfortable with being gay. So I put myself in this self-imposed box. And part of it was my family is very loving, very accepting. And they put me in a Catholic school thinking it was the best school. But I knew very early that I was different. And sorry. And putting me in that environment of the Catholic school and the rules and I like took to it like to a fish to water and completely wanted to not be gay, anything but gay. So I was an altar boy. I taught Sunday school. Sorry. Ooh, I didn't think it was going to be like this tonight. So any like hint of gay or talk about gay, or I was absolutely like, no. So I put myself in this box and I said, I'm going to do everything that's expected of me. I was a straight A student. I was an altar boy. I taught Sunday school. Meanwhile, nobody in my family is religious. But I decided to become this like holy roller, and this is the way I'm going to be good, because I'm going to pray away the gay. I went off to college, and I, again, still being holier than thou, I ended up joining a fraternity. I was president of the fraternity. I was trying to play this whole like macho straight role. And one of the best things I ever did in my life, actually, if I look back, was pledge that fraternity. Because one of the things that the fraternity did was they put you through Hell Week. And one of the things during Hell Week was they made us do a scavenger hunt. So I'll backtrack a little bit. When I was growing up, another thing that made me not want to be gay was my aunt had a friend that we used to call Uncle Johnny. And if anybody knows, my real name is John. So already the Uncle Johnny thing was already like, Uncle Johnny was very gay. He had a Richard Simmons afro. He carried a purse. He walked with a swish. And he wanted you to call him a woman. So for me, as somebody who did not want to be gay, my only gay reference was Uncle Johnny. And with my name also being John, I was like, wasn't so crazy about it. So for now, flash forward back to the fraternity. So they made us go to one of the Hell Night things was we had to do a scavenger hunt, and we had to go to a gay bar. I was absolutely petrified because I had been told that like if you're gay, other gays know. So I'm like, oh great. Like we're going into a gay bar, they're gonna know I'm gay. And then we went to Uncle Charlie's, which was downtown at the time in the Village. And we went into the bar, and I remember like there was 11 of us, and everybody like filed in and went against the wall, like petrified, like somebody was going to touch us. And I just remember looking around going, wait, that guy's gay? Because that guy's in a suit and tie. Wait, that guy's gay? He's in like leather. That guy is like everybody. There were no Uncle Johnnies. Like, if you know what I mean, like my thing of gay was you had to be Uncle Johnny. So I looked around the bar and I'm like, it's just people. Just people having drinks. And they're like, well, one of us has to go get the bartender's phone number. And I'm like, I'll get it. So I went up to the bar and I said to the bartender, I said, look, I'm not out, but I'm in a fraternity. And nobody here knows I'm gay, but I have to get the bartender's phone number. Will you give me your phone number just so like we can get out of here? And he said, yes, but under one rule, you have to call me. And I said, all right, just give me your phone number because I got to get out of here. All right, so he gave me his phone number. I'm like, all right. And we all dashed out. And needless to say, I got into the fraternity, ended up becoming president. And yes, in case you're wondering, yes, I did call him.
I was hoping you did.
We're not going to get into that.
Okay, that's for another day. That's another evening.
That's a whole other story. So I was still like self-imposed, still did not want to come out. But once I graduated college, I felt I like did everything that I was supposed to do. Like I was the good kid growing up. Like I never caused any problems, got straight A's, did what I was supposed to do. I graduated college. Then I started working while I was working, I was working in a retail store, and my manager was gay, and I think he knew. I'm pretty sure he knew. And he would like, would you like to go out with me on Saturday night? We're just gonna hang out with some friends. I'm like, yeah, I'll go out. I don't mind hanging out. And he started bringing me to gay clubs. He started bringing me to the Roxy. He brought me to Twilo, like all these gay bars. And the more and more I got comfortable, the more and more my outfits changed. And I could tell at home, like, questions started being asked of me by my mother and my stepfather that they normally didn't ask. Meanwhile, I knew my mother knew, so that was fine. But my stepfather kept asking weird questions. And one day, while I was getting ready to go out with my boss, I looked in the mirror and my pants were painted on. My shirt was skin tight painted on. I had blonde highlights and 2 earrings. And I looked in the mirror and I said, who are you kidding? Like, who are you kidding? So I'm just like, ugh. So I knocked on, like I always do, I knocked on my parents' door before I left. And I said, I'm about to go out. And they said, okay, have fun. Please be careful. And I said, you know, I said, I do have to say something to you, though. I said, recently, you've been asking a lot of weird questions, and I kind of avoided them because I knew that what you were getting at. And I said, and what you were getting at is whether you wanted to ask me whether I was gay. And then I went, well, obviously I am. I don't feel like talking about it, and I'll see you in the morning. And my mother said, okay, have fun. And I went out, and the rest is history. And that's my coming out story.
Thank you so much, Madison, for sharing that. It's really such a touching story. And I'm so glad that you were able to work through those feelings of self-loathing, because that's the kind of messages that we are working on within faith communities. Because when you hear those condemning messages from the pulpit, that is a form of bullying. I don't care what anybody says. I really actually think it's a form of child abuse. And a pastor that works on our committee says he actually views it as a form of actual religious terrorism, because you're eliciting these feelings of shame and terror and fear into such a small child, to causing them to self-hate. So I'm so glad that you've freed yourself from those terrible teachings. And it's not to say that faith is bad, because faith in its core is not. I mean, that's why I'm here today, because I was in such a sad time when Tyler died, that without my faith, I wouldn't be here today with you. I can almost guarantee it. So it's separating that painful messaging and those condemning messaging from the true message of love. And that's what's important. And
absolutely. I can guarantee this is why your story still hits me to this day. I still hold on to my faith very true. I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, but I still have my faith. I still have my beliefs. But your story, like, it got me from the first time, and now that when I talk to you, and when I see you out, and when I see your other son, you're both so lovely. It's such a blessing. I'm so glad to be here.
I have 3 sons. Tyler, my middle son, is as old as Emperor Antonio up there. You know, I can't believe my own son is your age, and then James is a little bit even older than that. So yes, yeah, and yes, I'm just glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madison, for that. I've obviously known a lot of that story as part of what coming out does or can do, and what the Imperial Court has done for a lot of us is it gives us chosen family. Because remember that your family may not be accepting at the time, and they will hopefully come around, but there is love for you. You are loved, you are seen, you are not alone. And we have varying forms of chosen family on this call right now in the world of things. Madison is one of my drag mothers, and Chuleta is her drag mother. And like I said,
And you married her, so you're my.
I was gonna say, and now it's a.
You're my grandfather.
That's a whole different story.
Now it's a real mess.
Yes.
That sounds like,
Love, so that's
that sounds like a country song.
And like we said, Madison's mother is in the court and is an amazing supporter of the court too. So again, just know that family does come around and can come around, and it just takes one thing that can change their mind, and hopefully it'll happen. And just again, know that you're not alone. You have the Imperial Court to come and be your family if you would like to join what we do. We are here for you. And speaking of what we do, we are a nonprofit who plays this game, as you've seen with Jules. And to tell you more about that and their stories, our reigning monarchs of Reign 34 are Emperor 29 Graham de Cracker and Empress 34 Madelyn Keyth.
Hi, everyone. Hi. So, why don't I go ahead and start? Okay. Because it's an interesting, I have to tell you, I am what may be considered by many as a late bloomer. I didn't come out until I was 28 years old. I was married to a woman for 5 years. And it was one of those things I kind of, in hindsight, after I came out and started examining all of this, understood that it was who I am. But all that whole time, I just figured it was just a portion of me that was part of it. Apropos of Jane's conversation, I came out in 1980, was 28 years old. You do the math. I saw a lot of what I would consider to be negative stereotypes of gay people. And I remember one in particular, in 1970, the year that I graduated from high school, was the year that Boys in the Band came out. Wonderful drama, interesting movie, show, etc. But it doesn't paint a very positive picture of what it is to be gay. And I looked at that and thought, I'm not unhappy. I'm not unhappy with who I am, what I am. Anyhow, so fast forward, it got to be 1980. I was in the 5th year of my marriage at that point, and hit what can only be described as an existential crisis. And I just had to deal with it. I knew that I had to deal with it. And separated from my wife, came out to my therapist, who was the first person that I told at that point, who couldn't have been more supportive and more wonderful. And that rest is history, as has been said several times this evening. But when I came out in 1980, it was the very beginning of the AIDS crisis. And so it was an extraordinarily scary time to be coming out. There was this thing going around. We had no idea what it was. At one point, we were calling it the gay cancer. There were all kinds of names for it. But we all knew at some point that it was affecting the gay community, and that some of us knew that we had to be very careful about this. The advantage of coming out when you're 28 is you kind of are a little bit more circumspect and can be a little more in control of how your life is and what you do. And I was, and it probably saved my life because I was much more careful, because I dated, I didn't go home from bars and those kinds of things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's the way I chose to come out, and the way that I chose to start my dating life. Honestly, it was the way I knew how to do things, and so it was the most comfortable way to do it. The other part of it was, at that point, I knew that I wanted to be in a committed relationship, because I luckily had parents that were married for over 65 years. I had people around me that were the same way. And even though I was gay, I knew that that's how I wanted my life to be. And I've been very lucky with that. So the coming out story is interesting, because when you talk about a little bit about stereotypes, there weren't gay people on television at that time, really, and the ones that were intermittent, and they were, as Madison described, they were Uncle Johnny's. And so when you saw people like that, and kind of knew that that's not exactly how you were, you start to question things, and you start to think about what it means to be gay. Once again, because I came out at 28 and was able to sort of stand back, look at the difference in people and the variety in people, be excited by that, because it really is an incredible spectrum of people that are part of the gay community. And understand that when you get to know these people, how supportive they can be, and as we've talked before, start to become your chosen family, which is just an extraordinary thing. So, that's really my story at this point. When I came out in 1980, did I ever dream that I would be able to actually be legal married? Oh my God, no, never in a million years. I never thought that. And here I am with the love of my life. Married now almost 2 years. There'll be 2 years at the end of this month. 6 years together, which is just extraordinary. Let me backtrack a little bit. The other thing that I wanted to say was I have been extraordinarily lucky. I have a very supportive family. And I had actually never experienced, that I know of, and I think I'm fairly aware, of any real prejudice or bullying or anything like that. Again, maybe it's because I came out when I was 28. I've always been out at work, everywhere I've worked. I've always been out where I worked. It's never been an issue. In fact, I retired in 2012, but before I retired, about 3 years before I retired, I worked for a professional medical organization, and we put together a network of the gay members of the organization. Just primarily, it started as a kind of a group to see if people were having issues, if people were having roadblocks or any of those kinds of things, that because they were gay. The good news is nobody had. Everybody was enjoying their careers, was progressing in their careers. I worked with academic physicians. Most of them were at that point professors of medicine. So that wasn't part of it, but they talked about their gay patients and treating their gay patients and how that worked and the stories that they had about those. And so that actually ended up being one of the focal points of this group, is being able to talk to their gay patients and how they did it, stories that they had. So that was definitely a positive thing. But that was a natural outcome of my working at the organization, and something that was never when the physician and I went to the then president of the organization and said, we'd like to start this, there wasn't a moment's hesitation. It was, of course, and kind of like, well, why haven't we had this before? So again, my experiences have been positive, and I'm very lucky that way. One of the things that I can tell you is I know that a lot of people don't have that kind of experience. But know that people have been out for a long time and have had a lot of experiences, and can talk to you about those experiences, because that's what we like to do. We talk about the Imperial Court of New York. It's an incredible organization. It's a diverse organization. It's a very safe place. It's a place where people can come, talk about who they are. We celebrate diversity. We celebrate creativity. There's no such thing as weird in the Imperial Court, because we can always find room for absolutely everybody to do something wonderful within the court. And one last real quick thing. 10 years ago, when Tyler died, I was on Facebook with, happened to be friends with my college roommate. So I graduated from college in 1974. So this goes back to the very early 70s. And he and I were roommates for 2 years when we were in college in Michigan. And one of the first things I did was call George, his name was George, and said, this is heartbreaking, and I can't even begin to imagine what this was like when somebody that you live with could be this callous and this awful. And the two of us just sort of understood to some degree what was happening at that point, and empathized, and just it affected both of us. And like Madison, at this point, 10 years later, I never thought in a million years that I'd be on a panel with Jane Clementi. And I'm so grateful for what Jane and the organization that she shepherds does, because it's making a difference. And we really need to understand just how big an impact the organization is having. So thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so
Now the real story.
here's where it gets real, dude. Actually,
Nobody can tell us coming out story like a drag queen with a crown on.
my coming out story is pretty unremarkable. I came from a family where both of my parents had one sister, and they were both gay. So I had two gay aunts. My father and mother both knew I was gay about the same time I did, which is about 4th grade. So when I was ready to come out, my parents had separated. My mother was strangely living with this woman. And when I came out to my mother and said I was gay, she goes, "Honey, your father and I knew you were going to be gay since you were like in 4th grade." And I said, "So when are you going to tell me about you and Nancy?" So my mother's coming out story was a little bit more fun than mine. I never got hassled because, although I'm sitting down right now, most of you know I'm 6'4". Through high school, I never got hassled. I had a really good fan base, and when I started coming out when I was about 15, I think I lost 2 out of 20 friends, one of which I saw later in a gay bar, but it was years too late for us to rekindle an old friendship. But what I really want to point out is, although I had it easy, I had that great base of my 2 moms. And what made it great for me is I had a lot of friends who had problems. They were discarded, thrown out of their houses for who they are. My mother fostered a good 15 kids over the course of 10 years. My friends would come in, they'd get back on their feet, they'd find their own place, they'd find their true love, and they could move on. God, I hate this. I gotta take it off in a minute anyway. So, although I had a very easy coming out, I'm grateful that my family affected other people's coming out. And if you have a hard time finding love in your family, you do have family options. There is somebody out there to love you and to help you.
Okay, stop.
My turn.
And if you don't have that person, PM me. I'll give you my number.
Thank you for that, because that's 1000% accurate. And if nothing else, if anyone watching this or who you share this video with can take away from this entire panel is you're not alone. You are loved, even if you don't know the person that has love for you in their heart. You have a family out there. Family doesn't always mean blood. And that your family's just amazing for that. Like, that's ridiculously insane. And I think I've heard some of that story, and I know other people that we know that have similar stories. But again, just from reading the comments, it's to relay that, thank you again, Jane, also for the work that you do and the fact that what you tied in with Madison's story about how you're trying to help faith leaders and religious leaders in realizing what they can do, because we have a member who told their story a little bit in the comments saying that they were sent to conversion therapy. They were part of a religious family, and that it is hard sometimes when you're part of a religious family to come out. And again, we may not have everyone in the court in this panel, but know that we have so many stories and experiences. So the court is a place to come and see yourself in others.
You me tonight.
And one of the most important things is that when you're supporting somebody to come out, they have to come out at their own time.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you get anxious and you want them to come out because you had such a positive experience, but you have to wait for them to feel when it's right for them to come out. Because I've been in a lot of spots where people talk to me and they tell me like they're out, they're at work and they want to come out, and I say, listen, when you're ready, you will come out. Don't let anyone bully you into coming out or ask you questions. When you're comfortable, you tell people at your own pace.
Yes.
Because that's when it's the most positive. Because when you're secure with yourself, you're going to have a much better outcome than if you were like on the edge and you were nervous, you didn't want to say something because you may not come out the way you really wanted it to come out.
Exactly. And on the cross side of that, to all of our allies and amazing family members out there and friends, you may be excited because you know that your best friend or your child or your niece or nephew or whoever, they're gay and they just need to come out in your opinion. Keyword, that's your opinion. They need to come out in your opinion. Everyone's coming out story is their own and should be their own. So do not try to refrain from asking the questions and all of that to try to pull them out of the closet.
But you can make a safe space for them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Share stories of how you have friends, or you can share positive outcomes of other people's stories.
Exactly.
And maybe even it's a symbol, like a pride flag in your window or
a pin, a brooch,
button. Make it a safe space to help encourage conversation.
Exactly.
Before it's over, I do want to encourage everyone to go to our website too, the Tyler Clementi Foundation website, tylerclementi.org. And one of our most important initiatives is to become an upstander. And you are all upstanders, in my opinion. And you all stand up and speak out and don't remain passive bystanders. So if you saw someone being targeted, I know you would say something and do something and intervene. So anybody watching this can go and sign up and be an upstander on our website. And also read letters of affirmation under our True Faith Doesn't Bully, and you'll see letter after letter of the pain and harm that the dogma causes, but how each person has come through and is in a better place. And that's the best part. Because I like happy endings. Like, don't go for the repeating sadness. We go for the happy ending, right? That's the ending we want.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes, please do go to the website. The Upstander Challenge is how close are we to the goal?
Oh, well, on Thursday we have another fundraiser, our fundraiser, and we're going to have a big announcement on that.
Oh, okay.
There's a
Perfect.
big announcement coming up on Thursday.
As you can tell, we are very close partners with the Tyler Clementi Foundation that we have the questions like, where are we at the goal?
Right. You know, we're on that Million Upstander movement.
Yes. And I know a majority of the court has signed that list and signed up. We have a couple more minutes. Are there any questions that the panelists have for each other? Because there's no questions so far on the comments, but anything you have for each other?
Does this jewelry make me look gay?
A little bit.
Well, I would have to not only come out as gay, but you would have to also come out as a drag person, right?
Yes.
Probably a whole nother step. I mean, it's a continuous sharing of all parts of you, right?
That's a real funny thing. Because I was never a drag queen. I used to do it for a joke going to Fire Island for the drag invasion. And then I found myself being attracted to drag. and I would sneak. I'm 55. I was 55 years old, and I'm finding myself sneaking out of the house. So someone didn't see me all made up and have a dress on. It was the funny. And then one day I said, "Am I crazy?" I just walked out of the house in full drag. Madison came over and said, "Let's get in the car and let's go."
Chuleta.
I waved to my neighbors.
Chuleta, sorry, that's my fault.
I give them the little
The royal
USA wave.
Yeah.
Same thing with me. I used to sneak out of my house all the time, like, oh, hope nobody see. Now I walk out like, you don't pay my mortgage. I don't care. And people ask me like, who was that pretty girl that left your house? I'm like, oh, that was me. I just like,
You got it at work.
I'm like,
Oh
no,
my
that was
God.
me. I do drag, and they're like, oh, okay.
You know,
I don't
my
care.
job, they
You
still
don't pay my
ask me.
mortgage. So
They asked, when's Madelyn coming back? Because she did this number with the chair.
Oh yes.
Madelyn people bigger than life.
Oh my God.
These people, I think they were dying that we didn't have a Pride this month, this year for June. So next year we got to make it up.
We miss being able to go and be there because where you work, those folks are so wonderful. They really are. It's fun to be there with you when you do.
And it's funny now because now some of the girls, they were like, "Could you do my lashes? Could you put my lashes on?" And I'm like, it's quite interesting.
Put my lashes on.
When I
The
first,
older I get, the worse I get at
when I
it.
first started, my mother was a makeup artist. My mother did my lashes the first 5 times I was in drag.
Wow. That's pretty
I
good.
used to be good at lashes, but I feel the older I get it, the less patience I have. I'm like, wherever they land, they land.
Hurt though. Don't you have to get used to wearing them? You know, doesn't it hurt having something on your lid?
No, it doesn't hurt.
No, you don't feel
No,
them.
it doesn't hurt.
It's just heavy.
Sometimes if you wear really big lashes, they can obstruct your view.
Yeah. Yeah, or they feel heavy, you know. I don't know.
Jane, I
I
No,
don't
it doesn't hurt.
know.
mascara on, let alone lashes.
every once in a while, like for the invasion and fun stuff like that, I get dressed in drag. The hardest part is being on the ferry, crossing the South Bay to Fire Island with the wind blowing in your face, and your lashes are flattering.
I thought you would just try and pick me out.
Oh my God, the first time
Wait,
it happened to me, I thought,
wait, that's
they're gonna fly right off my eyes. I'm gonna get there, and the lashes will be in the South Bay somewhere, and I'll just
wait, that was the hardest part for you?
with the fluttering of the lashes.
Never mind, everything's down below. It's like,
No, walking in heels, he doesn't sweat in the middle of the summer. I hate him.
No,
what about everything being smashed down below?
Oh no, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Nope.
Oh, you're fine with that. You just don't like your lashes.
I just don't, because I'm seriously all I could. I'm going to show up with one eye with a lash and the other one not, and that would just.
Oh my God, I needed that laugh.
We also to go with exactly what Jane was saying, you know, and we've all been saying tonight, there's multiple levels depending on who you are of coming out. We have another one of our amazing cisgendered female allies in the court who's Empress Sugar Be Real, and she just commented, imagine being a cis woman and doing drag and walking out of the building in like this gaudy makeup. And if anyone's ever been to her house is a closet, a just giant closet.
Yeah.
She has more
Wasn't it
than anything else in her house. But yeah, and there are people
It's
who
a big gay closet.
yeah, people, and that's another thing of advice that I would say kind of circles in with coming out is not assuming, even in our own community, not assuming. Because I know people such as Sugar has told this story before, and that people assume that she's a drag queen because of the way she dresses, which is mostly for the court. And other people in general, like we have drag queens in our court who are cisgendered straight men. So drag queen doesn't always equate being gay, and that I think that's a big part of it too, is the fact that not kind of what Madison was saying with the Uncle Johnny situation, that stereotypes don't always mean reality. Because like
Absolutely.
for me, the two examples for me when I was figuring out myself was, am I a Jack or am I Will? From Will and Grace, you know, the very flamboyant, oh my gosh, which I have my moments, people on this call can attest to.
You're a little both.
And that, exactly, that's what I figured out. And I never tried to be in the box, but it was one of those, like, you know, at the time, like, well, people from the outside are like, well, you remind me more of Jack. You remind me more of Will. It's like, stop trying to tell me what kind of gay I am. There's no set kind of gay. And I want everyone to understand that, especially if you are struggling to come out. Just know there's a place for you. And there are people on this call right here that have a place for you right next to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you know anyone that's having an issue coming out, they should really help them. You know, just talk to them. You know, just give them ideas. You know, because it's hard for some people to put it out there because they don't know what to expect. Because they heard so many horror stories. You know, they don't want to be homeless. They don't want to get thrown out of their house. You know, their parents are very religious, and you know, and it's a hard thing for a child today because being homeless to some people is the worst thing in the world. You know, they won't know how to deal with it. So it's a hard thing today.
Especially because more people are coming out younger and younger. So homelessness is more of an issue because many people 30 years ago would wait till after college. They'd be in their mid-20s. They'd be, you know, in their young adulthood in their early 20s. And so they could take care of themselves. So you need a plan B, right? You need to have a plan A and you need a plan B. And I think that's an important message, Empress.
Yeah, because a lot of the children I know and deal with, they're homeless because they came out. And I was like, you know, this something you did yourself, you know. It's amazing when you hear these stories.
Right.
You know, it just makes you sit down and really think, how could you help these people or these children? How could you help them out? And the only thing you can really do is help them, is to guide them and to bring them to the right places for resources, to find them shelter, to find them housing, to find them food and medical care. It's really important to make yourself available,
right,
to help.
Right. That's what the statistics say. 40% of homeless youth identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community. Yep. And in the general population, that's so much larger than the average thought is. Maybe it's 10% of the average population. I've heard all different numbers. For me, it's like 90%, but it's not. The gay community is only about 10%. But 40% of homeless youth, and it's either they've left because life was so terrible in that situation, or their parents just kicked them out completely. And it's also about being a good listener, I think.
Yes,
1,000%.
About listening. I know that was sort of where I learned so much about the community, is when I was in a really fog. So all I could do was listen, because I couldn't really talk very well, because no thoughts would be formed. But it's about listening, hearing what their fears are, hearing how they relate to the community, hearing what terms they want to be called, hearing what terms they call the community. I think as an ally, that's the best asset we have. Listening and repeating back the words, using the proper words and pronouns that the person talking to you chooses to use.
And I think those of us that
and the hardest thing, I think, too, the one thing that really upsets me is that's your child's. And ultimately, as a parent, wouldn't you want your child to be feeling loved and feeling accepted no matter what, and love that? I mean, that for me is very hard to wrap my brain around, because that child should be your everything, no matter what their situation. You should be supportive and care that they're loved and that they're safe. And I don't know. When parents do that to kids, it bothers me so bad. It isn't funny. It's just, how could you do that to your own kid? That's one thing that's beyond my understanding.
Well, and sadly, those stories are out there. And so when kids are in a position to be questioning who they are and what they are, some of the narrative they hear is the fact that these kids are getting tossed out and and I can't even begin to imagine how scary that would be. But I think for those of us that are out, I think it's important for us to be as visible as we possibly can. What Jane said, be visible and be there as an ear, as a shoulder, whatever you can do. That's probably the most important thing that we can do for the next generation, or even people that are our own ages that are coming out, is just be there and listen and help them understand that, I hate to say this, but it does get better, and it does. It does.
Exactly. Empress Sugar Real said it in a different way, but the same exact thing that I think adds to the impactfulness of that statement of being there. And she wrote, leaving the door open so that they know they will always find love and acceptance when they walk in. Yeah. So their closet door may not be open, but we can hold it open until they're ready to come out. And that's 1,000% true. Does anybody have any just final thoughts, final story points for the panel?
I would just like to thank you for putting this together. I think both of you are amazing. You know, you're two of my favorites, and best of luck to the reign that's going on right now. I know it's a difficult time, but God bless. Everybody be safe, and peace and love to everybody.
Thank you, Madison.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madison.
I would suggest that I mean, I know that we're doing this on National Coming Out Day, but maybe we need to do more of these kinds of panels. Maybe
yeah, for sure.
But, you know, we'll just see what kind of an audience we have tonight. It looks from the comments like it's fairly large. Why don't we consider doing more of these kinds of things on different topics? Well, we can, yeah.
And actually, real quick, because just so everyone knows, if Reign 34, Emperor Graham and Empress Madelyn, just give a quick little detail of what the Imperial Court of New York does and how these kind of things tie into places like the Tyler Clementi Foundation.
Oh, sure. So the Imperial Court of New York, as you probably all heard, is a 501c3 organization. So we're a charitable organization, and we raise money. We're doing this evening for the Tyler Clementi Foundation, which is a perfect example of one of our beneficiaries. We raise money for LGBTQ plus charities that we have identified for us in the New York metropolitan area. We are one of 70 chapters across the United States, Canada, and Mexico in what's called the Imperial Court system. As you can tell, this isn't actually the way that we go to the 7-Eleven just to get cigarettes. This is we're up to
you may not, I might.
And we are after mock royalty. So you start the court as a lord or a lady, and you progress up through the various titles depending on the amount of work that you do for the court. So it's a service organization. Your service counts, and the more service you do, the higher up in the organization you go. So is Antonio, Chuleta, and Madison, as well as us, are the current reigning monarchs. Madison, Chuleta, and Antonio are former monarchs. These past monarchs are elected positions. Once a year, we have an application process, and then in September we are voted either up or down into the monarch positions. We serve for 6 months as monarchs elect, and then we become monarchs at our fabulous and wonderful Night of 1,000 Gowns, which is our large gala fundraising ball, that we have every year except 2020. We unfortunately this year had to cancel the ball because of all the stuff that's going on. But with any luck, and I live in hope, hopefully next year, late March, early April, we'll be able to have our Night of 1,000 Gowns and be able to welcome all of our wonderful friends, court members from around actually literally they come from most around the United States, Canada, and Mexico to Night of 1,000 Gowns. It's one of the largest balls in the country. And we are the opportunity to welcome all of our visitors here to New York City. So, but we are an organization that raises money for a variety of charities, and we have fun doing it always.
In addition to our fundraising efforts, we also have numerous outreach programs where we go into hospice and we entertain people who can't otherwise get out and make it to our shows. We have potluck dinners, which Antonio is one of the founders of at Trinity Place Shelter. We help support a numerous amount of hospice and reach out with food to people. We serve and help serve dinners at different organizations. So we're more than just drag queens doing shows. We actually go out and we touch. We like to go out and see people. We like to be one-on-one with people where we can. And when we can't, we try and get people to write a check so we can make a difference.
Exactly.
And one of the things that you also do at your Night of 1,000 Gowns is you welcome strangers into your group as well and unite people. And I'm fortunate and privileged and honored to be one of those that you've united as a game. So I mean, I'm so grateful to be a part of your family of people friends. So.
Yes, you are. You're forever one of our one of the ranks.
I just have to give a little kudos because it's been a minute since I reigned. I do have to give kudos to our reigning monarchs. That reigning monarch speech was on point, and I loved it. Once you step down, you kind of like forget the speech.
Yeah, it's the elevator.
You say it for like a year and a half. So then after you step down, you're kind of like, oh, you want to. They hit every point, so A+.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the biggest takeaways from National Come Out Day is that once you come out, you're going to live your life authentically, and you could be who you are, and you're going to be more productive, and people will respect you because there's no more you're living a lie or you have to lie to cover up who you are. You don't have to do all that. It just takes so much stress from you, and you could really be more productive at work. You could be more productive in your home life. It just opens up the doors to make you a stronger individual. And it's amazing because I've seen it in my job. I've seen it in many places there, what doors open and how people respect you, and it's just different. I know for me, it opened up. It was amazing what it did for me in my job and my career. I love going to work. I love my job. I'm there 40 years.
Wow.
I'd like to retire, but I'm waiting for a package. But it just opened the door, and people, they respect me because they know who I am and they know what they're dealing with. And if it's not their thing, maybe the gay thing is not for them, but they're nice to me and they respect me. They call me James, they're not saying you fag or this and that. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a wonderful feeling that you can come out and be respected, and there's no, you don't have to worry about, is someone going to throw a brick in my head? That doesn't happen. Well, it shouldn't happen anymore, but I know for me it hasn't happened. But I feel 100% better that people know who the real James LaRusso is, or AKA Chuleta Devine.
I was like, who? Who is that?
Who's that?
Yeah. But
yes.
And it's amazing.
Exactly.
Even family members that, everyone has family, and sometimes you have a distant family that, you maybe see them only at a wedding or at a funeral. When my family, when they see the Facebook, because, Facebook opened the world to everything. And, people say, oh, let's check out. And they see Chuleta Devine, James LaRusso, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's you. Yugi, how you look like that? How do you did that to you? And it's like, it's been the joke of all family things. I mean, I was at my nephew's wedding, and the people I didn't even know who they were. They came over to me and they said, you're Chuleta Devine. We need to talk to you. We want you to. I'm like, who are you? Well, we're your new in-laws. I'm like, I didn't know. From the other side of the family, they just came over to me. And my brother, I thought, was going to hit the floor because he's like, oh no, not again, you know? But it's just amazing. Just by being open and honest, and the love that you receive is amazing once you feel comfortable on doing this.
Yes, exactly. And you're comfortable. And just like Sugar says, as I said, Sugar, even though if someone's reading in the comments, they see Rhonda Potter. And even outside the court, people in the LGBTQ community in New York know her as Sugar Be Real. They don't know who this Rhonda person is. And just another thing, you know, safe space. And I think part of it also is understanding on both sides is, like, I believe it's Coco that's on our court account right now, our board president and one of our founders, and Empress 7, who also mentioned, I know that Chantilly and Jane can probably think about this on more than us, is that, you know, and I know I've had a conversation with my own mother, like, parents, there's no handbook on how to react. And so I hope panels like this can be a page in a new handbook for a parent on just remember that you love your child, and them being their authentic self doesn't change that, and doesn't change who they are, and it shouldn't change who they are to you.
Yeah.
But any last comments before we sign off tonight?
Just thank you very much. I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you, Michael.
Thank
We
you.
really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you putting this together for us.
Yes, thank you, Jane, for being here. Thank you, all our panelists. I believe this will be up on our social media for a while, and so please do share with your friends and families, colleagues, whoever you feel comfortable sharing it with. Again, donate down at icny.info/coming-out. That link will be active for a little bit, so you can donate. Every bit helps to promote the cause, anti-bullying, ending teachings that could be anti-LGBT, and the Upstander Challenge, and everything else amazing that the Tyler Clementi Foundation does. And please do go to their website to follow their other amazing programs and upcoming fundraisers, as we know we'll have apparently a lovely announcement this week. So
It'll be coming up.
Absolutely.
And thank you for supporting this awesome event.
yeah.
Yes, we
Thank
are
you so
having a
much.
panel discussion in the Zoom world as well, with cast members from Queer as Folk and Thomas
yes.
Roberts is seeing. So yes, come join us on Thursday.
See, that was one of the ones that I had to have the channel clicker on the last channel because I was too young to watch it.
I think it's on Netflix or one of those platforms. So
But
yes.
now,
Rubbing that
it
in.
was Showtime, and I wasn't supposed to be watching at age whatever, 15, 16, or whatever it was. But real quick, you just sparked another thing. Our reigning monarchs. What do we have coming up? Real quick.
Okay, so let's start with coming this Wednesday. You can start previewing. We're going to be doing an auction for the next 3 months. The auction is going to help us raise money for Thanksgiving, for Trinity Place Shelter, for Thursday's Child, for Sylvia's Place. We have a couple of different things coming up, but we have 3 consecutive auctions. Each auction will have about 8 or 9 different pieces. We didn't want to put up 20 pieces and overwhelm people. So it's a great way to do a little early Christmas shopping. We have things that are wonderful values and great deals at all price points. Everything from airline tickets to cocktail rings, and even have one of those action cameras for those people who skateboard and stuff like that. Have all kinds of fun stuff. Watches.
When you're doing a drag numbers.
Yeah, so you can see the response of the audience. So look for that coming up. We're doing another fundraiser strictly for Thursday's Child. We'd like to try and raise enough money to buy some food gift cards for those clients who are in need. So we have the 3 of them coming up. We're just closing up now on our 5K challenge, which has been an enormous success. We closed up our Tupperware party a few weeks ago. And then we have more stuff coming in December. I don't want to give anything away.
And
we are also, speaking of like when we do outreach, the court is officially feeding Trinity Place Shelter. We are taking care of their Thanksgiving dinner, 100%. We're taking care of their food for them. I don't know yet what we're going to be able to do for Sylvia's Place. And like I said, we're going to be doing the gift cards for Thursday.
We also, for those of you that saw it, did a virtual over the summer. We did our first virtually live entertainment package. Actually, we were able to raise a significant amount of money. And just today, and one of the reasons why we're dressed the way we're dressed is we filmed the intro and a couple of other things for virtually live. That doesn't trip up the tongue easily. Virtually Live 2 is coming up very shortly. We have numbers in, and we're looking forward to being able to present that to everyone.
We're in the editing process.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's almost done, according to Sugar. She doesn't.
Yeah, so that'll be coming soon.
And another, I love Chuleta with her pumpkin. Also, something that I'm curating and our amazing board is helping with, just in case people weren't aware, October is LGBTQ History Month. It's not a national month officially, but it is a month that's been going since the 1990s, 1994, I believe. And we are doing on our social media a spotlight series. So you can see historical figures that are pivotal in the LGBTQ history. And again, more examples of amazing things and encouragement of when you're out, you can do amazing things. And please, on your own time, do come out. But I just want to say thank you to all our panelists, and especially thank you to Jane for speaking on the foundation and everything that the foundation does. And again, please donate, icny.info/coming out, and head over to the Imperial Court of New York Facebook, which you are on now watching live, and the Tyler Clementi website for more upcoming events. And thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.